So hi, hello and welcome again. Microbehunter here. I'm Oliver, and what do you see over here floating around on the surface of the water in this jar here? These are cyanobacteria. They're photosynthetic bacteria, and they are responsible for one of the first big natural disasters in Earth's history. Approximately 2.4 billion years ago, it were those cyanobacteria that actually invented photosynthesis, and by doing so, they started to form a lot of oxygen. Now, of course, we think oxygen is a very good and important gas. Of course, it is. We need it for survival. But actually, at that time, this was a real problem. Oxygen was very reactive. Oxygen is still very reactive, and at that time, the oxygen started to build up in Earth's atmosphere made by those cyanobacteria. This oxygen killed off most of the other bacteria that were alive at that time. Higher plants and animals, of course, did not exist yet, but the invention of photosynthesis by these cyanobacteria really caused a huge problem. And not only for those other microorganisms that lived at that time, but it completely changed around the chemistry of the surface of the Earth. Earth became from a so-called reducing atmosphere to an oxidizing atmosphere. The oxygen not only killed off many of those microorganisms, but also caused a variety of other chemical reactions with the substances and molecules that were existent at that time on Earth. And even nowadays, you can actually see that over here, if I just pointed at all of those bubbles that you see here, well, these bubbles, these are oxygen bubbles that the cyanobacteria actually started to produce by photosynthesis. And not only plants produce a significant amount of oxygen that we breathe, but also those microscopic photosynthetic bacteria that are living in water. They're responsible, and very often overlooked, responsible for a significant part of the oxygen that we're breathing right now, right? And of course, we can put them under the microscope. This is something that I'm going to do now, and we're going to have a closer look at how those cyanobacteria that actually shaped our planet, how they actually look like. So let's get started with that. So, of course, I have to get it out first. Let's take a small sample here. A small sample is good. Look, it's huge. So I need to basically cut off a little bit here with some scissors. Small amount is all that I need. Yeah, see, that's enough. Let's put it on the slide. So here we go. Of course, I also need to add a little bit of water, and I need to pick it apart as well. Add some water. And let's try to separate it a little bit more so that we're able to see everything a little bit better. As a matter of fact, I think that's quite a large sample already. Those cells are so small, we don't need a lot. Yeah, I think that'll be enough. We drop a cover glass on top. It's not very flat. Let's press it flat a little bit. Let's have a look under the microscope. So very nice, very nice. Look at this here. Yeah, those tiny strings that you see, these are the cyanobacteria. You can see that they're growing together in a very dense network. And if you actually are a little bit patient, then you can also see, well, they actually move. They're gliding around, swimming back and forth a little bit. Not all cyanobacteria do that. Not all cyanobacteria are actually also in this string-like shape. But as we can see, many of them are. Yeah, look here, there's quite a bit of movement going on. Scientists are not quite sure yet how they do that. The exact mechanism apparently is still not known. But it's an interesting way of moving, because without flagella, without cilia, these are basically something that protozoans have. They still are able to move here. And as a matter of fact, the cells are fairly small, and you have to go up quite a bit with the magnification to see them better. So that's what I'm going to do right now as well. Yeah, here, that's basically a very dense network. Yeah. So they do remind me a little bit of worms. Of course, they are not worms. Worms are significantly thicker. Nematode worms, for example. Yeah. And of course, on this slide, I was also able to find a whole range of other things, not just those cyanobacteria, but also I found a few protozoans. Let's have a look. Maybe we're a little bit lucky. Yes, of course, this here is a nematode worm. Not surprising to find also small animals there where there is growth and photosynthesis happening, because those algae and cyanobacteria, of course, they serve as an important food source for other organisms as well. Yeah, so you see, life in a biofilm, life in a jar, very fascinating. And for me, what I really consider amazing is, I mean, that's a little bit my view as a biologist, is that those cyanobacteria really not only had a huge impact back 2.4 billion years ago on the development of life on Earth, but actually that they're still visible today. And those cyanobacteria not only produced oxygen but also are important for land formation, because as they started to grow and they died off, sometimes rocks started to build up layer by layer over many years. Yeah, so you see those biological processes also had an impact on geological development, basically. Yeah. So, and here again, lots of stuff here in this layer of biofilm. Yeah. And here again, a dense network of those cyanobacteria. I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah, I just can encourage you to also start exploring with your microscope. I hope that you found this interesting. I wish you all the best. Happy microbe hunting as always, and hope to see you again in the next video. Bye bye.